Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So a while back I had someone ask me to do a video on, what would I do if I decided to walk out in the woods and find some things to start a fire and kind of get it going good. And I was like, well, that's pretty basic, but I guess if, a lot of people, they just throw gas or lighter fluid on something and get it going, at their house. But if you just wanted to go camping, or something, or typically what I do on the trail is, you want to look around for good burning material, but your tinder material, what you start out with, is going to be the most important. So we've got semi-wet conditions out here, and you can start a fire when things are wet. You just got to find things that are not wet. So one good thing to look for is a tulip poplar, and I'll show you one here. So this is what the bark looks like. And another indication of a tulip poplar is they go up about, I don't know, 60 feet or so before you see a limb a lot of times, okay? Now, and their leaf sort of reminds me of like a Ninja Turtle's hand or something, sort of almost like a maple leaf, but not quite. So you got your three main sections here with 2 points on it, okay? And sometimes they'll have bright yellow and white blooms on them, okay? Now, if you kind of look around the base of these, and you'll find a stick. I've got one leaned up here. So tulip poplars have an inner bark. So when you peel the bark off, you've got this stuff right in here behind it. I'm trying to get that into focus. But that peels back. It's really fibrous material. Okay, this is wet and it's wanting to fall apart. But you see that really fine stuff in there? Okay. Now guys, if you already know this, this is not for you. So, but watch if you want to. So one good way to get this, if you can, there's a tree bigger than this one, and the whole thing fell in the creek down here, and the bark just comes off in shales. Okay, so you can get large patches of this stuff, and you could, if you've got a wet log, it works best because that stuff just strips right off. And I've actually got some in my pocket from that tree down there. Okay, so I soaked this in the creek and got all the dirt off of it and just stripped it, long strips of the stuff off, and let it dry. And you can make a good little tinder nest or bundle out of this. But you want to break it down even further for it to catch a spark, or, whatever, however you're going to light it, matches or whatever. You could stick a match or something to this and it would just go right up, okay? But that's how you find that. And like I said, if you get a bunch of logs like this, maybe some bigger ones than this stick right here, and soak them, if you, have the ability to do that or the time, it will come off a lot easier. And another way to know this tree is, I don't know if you've ever been in the mountains and you've seen where people have tree bark siding on their houses. That's what this is, okay? Just because of the way it shales off. So, all right, so let's go get a fire started. And guys, let me add one more thing too. A really easy tinder to find. These old pine hearts and stuff. I broke this one in half just to show you. You see that really yellow center in there? This one's a smaller one and it's about rotted. But the reason this thing still exists is because it's been preserved from the inside. So you'll find this in the ground. So that's saturated with pine sap. Okay, so fat wood, guys, if you've seen my other videos, you know that I really like it. It burns a good long while. You can throw this on a fire and it'll burn a good time. So what I like to do is look around for, say, standing dead wood. Now, if you've got an axe, you can get larger stuff, hatchet, whatever. So we've got, that there's, you could probably knock that dead dogwood down, and you have some good logs for a fire if you've got wet conditions. You might have to bust it up and get to the inside of it sometimes. But anything hanging from the trees, like this right here. So even if it's been raining, that stick that come from another tree and fell into this one, okay? And you want something that's gonna snap, have a good snap to it, okay? This one here is one of those, like, sort of like a hickory tree. So you got to kind of shale it off a little bit. You want something that's going to snap a little bit better. So, like white oak or something like that. That there kind of broke. But the stuff that bends and you have to rip it down, really not the best that I've found for starting when you've got smaller tinder. Okay, so I'm going to look around here and see what all I can find, and we'll get it going. All right, guys, so the first thing I like to do is Obviously it's not necessary, but I usually like to get a chunk of bark or like a big leaf or something and lay down in case the ground's damp. Really doesn't matter, it's just kind of something that I do. And I like to go ahead and get like my little twigs and stuff that I want to get going first, set out, and then I've got like another size right here, and I just increase in size as I go, as I get it going, and just kind of baby it a little bit. You know, you can't burn a big stick if you can't burn a small stick, so sort of a rule of thumb there. And what I'll do now is I'm going to take a piece of this inner bark from the poplar. I'll find me a little hairy section of it here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this in my hands and I'm just going to rip it up as small as I can. So we want a lot of surface area with our tinder. You know, so the smaller it is, the better. I'm just going to continue to tear that up. And this here is actually a really good tinder source in and of itself, just because, you know, you can make your finer stuff like this and then you can leave the rest of it the way that it is. And the more you have, the better off you're going to be. But I have walked around creek banks and lakes and found, you know, dried vegetation, you know, some of that stuff that's on the side of a pond that's about knee high, kind of a tan or golden brown or something like that. And if it's wet, you can put that like in your shirt pocket or a jacket pocket or something close to your body, and while you're walking around looking for other sources, you can allow that to kind of, your body heat will sort of wick some of the moisture out of it. And you know, if you're really having trouble trying to find something dry enough. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So that sort of looks like a dried out barbecue. So we're gonna make like a little ball out of that. Okay, and we're gonna set that right there. And now I'm gonna make rip up some of this here. But I'm not gonna do this as fine as what we just did. Okay, so now we've got like a little bird nest, tinder bundle. Mosquitoes are bad today. Okay, so I'm going to sort of make that into a little bowl, or like I said, a bird's nest. And I'm going to put this inside of it. Now I've got my other stuff handy, so I can just throw it on top when this gets good and going. Okay. All right. There it goes. Okay. I'm going to start off small. The inner bark works really well. And typically I already have, you know, a pyramid type little thing set up, and I would just stick this up under it, but we're just going to do this so you can see it. Because you don't want it packed too tight or too heavy on there. You'll crush the flame, choke it out. Then we'll start working on our pyramid. And it's important to know how to blow on a fire too. If you're really having trouble getting things going, you want to pucker your lips like you're going to whistle and get down and blow in one specific area. And I'll show you. You don't want to blow over the whole thing, you'll blow it out. And you'll start blowing easy, as you can see, and like just pick one little spot in the heart of that fire, and you'll increase your intensity of your airflow as you're letting your breath out, okay? We're just gonna let that hang out for a second. I don't wanna put any more on it right now and move it and risk it going out, so. And once we get that fire hot enough to where we don't really have to worry about it going out, then we can start adding other things. And sometimes I'll just tear little pieces off and stick in there to kind of, the stuff's still wet. Didn't rain around here for like 2 months, and then it's rained every day for a month just about. And if you got a hatchet or something, you know, you can split these down. It would work even better, but we're just working off minimal gear today. If you got something going and if you got some, the rest of your material's kind of wet, you can put it on top and it'll start to sort of dry out if it's not too bad as you go. And one thing to pay attention to is when you've got your tinder source under all this material here, when that burns out, then you've got a big space under it. So sometimes you have to push this down so that your embers can continue to touch the wood that you're trying to burn. And, you know, sometimes this takes a while, guys. So if you don't get it, you know, the first time, don't sweat it. Just keep trying it. It takes a little bit of practice to get a fire going when everything's wet. I've seen people just give up on it. But, you know, there was a time, it's been several years ago, I started the fire just about every day for at least a year because I don't like being inside. I was single at the time. I'd go outside and, you know, do some things, and I'd have a fire to keep bugs off of me, which is why I'm sitting in the smoke right now, or just, you know, use it for little projects and things like that. But anyway, that is a good way to start a fire in wet conditions, okay? And here's a smaller piece of that poplar limb. I can show you that that stuff just rips right off of there. Okay, so I've got long strands of this stuff, okay? And you can leave some of the bark on there, but like I said, the more of this that you can acquire, the easier time you're going to have. And there's all kinds of stuff out there, guys. You know, you've got cedar and different things like that. Now, you know, pine, dried pine is a really good way to start a fire. If you're cooking, don't do that because it's going to taste like crap. So, but your poplar, your white oak, different kinds of things like that, they're denser wood, they're harder, they hold heat better, so when you get a good bed of coals, it's better for cooking and things like that. So. I find building a fire to be semi-therapeutic. I enjoy the process. learning where to blow on it and how to stack the sticks, and I'll sit here and baby it even if it's not necessary. It's just kind of something I enjoy doing. I've been doing it that way for a long time, and that's why most of the time I'll use this or like a match or something over a lighter, just because, I don't know, I just kind of enjoy doing it this way. So some people like flint and steel, some people like lighter fluid. But I feel like you're not really getting anything when you're using something that's, you know, a quick method. It's one thing if you're an emergency and you have to, or if you're just lighting a grill or something. But I mean, to me, I feel like I'm doing something, I'm learning something, I'm honing a skill. So, all right, guys. So anyway, that's a pretty quick way to start a fire in wet conditions. So, not a whole lot to it. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.